Hello, for this short video, I'm going to go over the assignments and submission requirements for the research practicum course for the Masters of Public Health program. So I'm going to go ahead and go over to the Moodle page, which you all should have access to, and go over what is available here for you. So the practicum experience, or the research portion of it, of course, is a culminating project of the MPH program, and you are required to really apply the 10 essential public health services as well as public health core competencies. This really comes into play in the capstone course, but the more that you think about it and apply it into your research project now, the easier the capstone course will be. So what is available here? First off, you've got the syllabus and the contract. So the contract you all should have in you have to have the contract completed and approved to really begin and register for the MPH 675 course. The syllabus is here, but again, this is really to provide that culminating project for you. It can be in support of an ongoing faculty research project or an original idea from you, and can be taken for 3, 6, or 9 credits. Each 3 credits is 120 contact hours, and you will be logging those for that. So if you have 6 credits of research, you will need 240 hours, for example. There are program learning outcome objectives as well as course objectives. I'm not going to go into detail of these all. I expect you to read through these, but you will not be able to fulfill all of them depending on your research topic and project, but you should at least get 2 of the learning outcome objectives and several of the course objectives through your project. So readings, there are no required readings. Those you're going to have those as part of your own research. A prerequisite that is part of the research proposal and to get that approved is to get the city training. I've got a link here and then a link on Moodle that I'll show you here in a few minutes. How the project and your practicum experience is evaluated is here and assessed, and I'm going to go back into Moodle and show you each one of these in more detail. So the contract here is, again, you should have all submitted it to be at this point and into the course, have submitted and gotten this approved, but it does require a description of research. This should be evidence-based and have sources to support your project. And it include 5 specific objectives and 2 learning outcomes, and use the syllabus as a resource for that, as well as the public health core competencies, which I'm going to show you here in a minute. You need to lay out your tasks and activities in approximate hours with those, whether it's the literature review, developing a spreadsheet, and monitoring your data collection. If you're going through the IRB, you can include your IRB proposal development, for example, and then you would have surveying methods, and then including the development of your final outcome or product. So you have the estimated timeline and outcomes or outputs. So that can be a variety of things, but it should be worked out with the faculty mentor or supervisor, which is myself, so that you get approved and know that you are working on a project that will fit the requirements. So some links here, you've got the city program ethics training, so that should have been completed. You've got the institutional art review board here for the University of Lynchburg. So you will work, if you are doing IRB, I will work with you on that as well to help make sure that your application is successfully accepted and goes through the process. You've got core competencies for public health professionals and essential public health services here to help. So when you're creating your objectives, this is a good tool to use for creating those, and you can look, for example, analytical and assessment skills and interpreting quantitative and qualitative data. I just pulled one out here. And this is something, if you've already turned in your proposal and you didn't use, you can certainly adapt and apply during your midpoint update and review, which I will go over here shortly. So what do you have to do after you've gotten your contract submitted and approved? So that's prior to starting the research project. Then what comes next? So really you're diving into your project and your research. So what you want to do to kind of provide that accountability is you will develop a weekly time log with a summary of activities. This is going to be required by Mondays at 10 p.m. So the first one will be required the second week of starting your research hours. So you will make a copy of this research practicum weekly log. Oh, and I need to make a copy because I'm in student view here. But so you will see this, you will make a copy and put your last name here with research timesheet. Include the week, the date, hours, and then activities. These can be bulleted here as well. If you've created something, a spreadsheet or annotated bibliography, for example, to help, this would be a great place to include a link. And then weekly, I will look over that and approve it. So unless you have an outside faculty mentor, which some of you do, they will be the signature that is required. At the end of, when you get your total hours at the end of your project, then make sure you submit a total, a project with a total hours with that. The next thing you do, so really you're researching, you're doing your project, and you're submitting your weekly summary here. And then at the midpoint of your hours, you will develop a midpoint progress report. So this is a brief update. It's just to demonstrate progress of where you're at. So go back to your objectives that you included in the proposal and indicate, and as well as your timeline, and indicate where you're at on those. Have you accomplished those? Are they coming up? That type of thing. And here are just some prompt questions to help you as you're developing your report. You know, what have you accomplished to date? What's going well? What's not going well? And the challenges you're having. Include types of findings or results that you're finding and the implications of those on public health. And include what's next. So what's happening for the second portion of it. If you're completing a research project that requires IRB approval, you should attach your IRB and approval letter if it's available, or provide an update on its status, because it should really be approved by that midpoint, because you have to send out a survey, you have to analyze that data and get the results and recommendations made. And then the last thing is to submit that final project. And there's the output or product that you put in for your, in your proposal. This is what you should submit. So some people are doing digital projects or developing a manuscript draft. Some are developing other evidence-based resources for target audiences, maps, maybe graphs. If you're analyzing data, you have some graphs or maps, but you need to include a short justification of those results and discussion of it. So don't just kind of have your end all be the graph or the map, but include a little bit of a results and discussion section. So submit all relevant products that you've developed as part of your project, and that's really the base of your the research project. The actual presentation and executive summary, that's part of your capstone exam, so just want to make that clear. A presentation normally, unless it's for a conference, is not going to be a product for your research project. You will apply that and use that as part of your capstone project. Now, if you were doing a presentation or webinar for your target population, that could, for example, be a project. So that's the research project and practicum option that you are all enrolled in and doing in a nutshell. Please reach out as you kind of work on things and have questions. If there's things too, if I'm your supervisor, or even if you have another supervisor, if you want a second set of eyes, if you want to have me look at things, because you also, part of your grade is going to be an evaluation by your faculty mentor and myself as the supervisor in the materials that you've submitted. But the biggest thing here is, you're not going into an office, so you have to be accountable for your hours, and please do not fluff them and, say that you did 10 hours when you did 5. In our internship experience, we had a student that completely lied on her or his hours and was not able to finish the program. It was 9 credits too. So really don't put anybody in that position. If you have problems getting to your hours, let's say you get to the end and you're like, I only got 100, or you're just not getting, you don't think you're going to get your hours, we can add another little product or something to get you to those hours. So it's better to lean towards the higher side of numbers, or even go a little bit over, instead of, trying to, lie or say that you have more hours than you did. So that's why that weekly time log is there and approval, so it's that ongoing accountability. But also, this is really to, apply what you've learned throughout the program, apply some of those public health core competencies, see where it falls in the essential public health services. You see research is all in the middle here, but what are you kind of, what aspect of are you researching? What part of what essential service are you really involved in? So if you have any questions, again, please reach out anytime throughout the process. Also expect to have a couple check-ins or updates with me as well, particularly if I am your research mentor for the project. So thank you, and be well.